The Hero's Journey, a Mindful Accord podcast, with your host, Rich Decker.
Hello and welcome to The Hero's Journey, a Mindful Accord podcast, the podcast where you capture strength for your hero's journey. Thank you for taking some of your valuable time to listen to this show. Now, this is our first episode, and I want to explain what the hero's journey is and why you'd want to listen to this show. The hero's journey is a story you already know. I believe everybody knows this story. It's a part of our DNA, or perhaps a deeply embedded archetype, such as the archetypes that were described by Carl Jung in his teachings. I was first introduced to the hero's journey back in 1977 when my parents took me to a movie theater to see the original Star Wars. The story of Luke Skywalker is the hero's journey. I was reintroduced to the hero's journey in high school when I read Homer's The Odyssey and Joseph Campbell's The Hero with a Thousand Faces. In The Hero with a Thousand Faces, Joseph Campbell beautifully and poetically explains the importance of the hero's journey in mythology and how these stories appear in some form or another in every culture throughout human history. But what is the hero's journey? I'll use Mr. Campbell's beautiful and poetic words to describe it. A hero ventures forth from the world of common day into a region of supernatural wonder. Fabulous forces are there encountered, and a decisive victory is won. The hero comes back from this mysterious adventure with the power to bestow boons on their fellow people. The hero's journey has been told and retold in books, plays, poems, religion, philosophy, movies, and campfire stories throughout our history, going all the way back to the first cave paintings 40,000 years ago. A recent example of the hero's journey retold would be Harry Potter. Harry's adventures through the various books is the hero's journey. But why do these stories resonate with us so completely? I believe it originates from our early evolution as Homo sapiens. Around 70,000 years ago, we developed the capacity to become storytellers. We began to create fiction. Telling stories might have been the first method of communication. It's still the best form of communication. We remember stories long before we remember specifics. Stories are who we are. Our lives are the stories we tell ourselves. Now think about that for a moment. Your past is a story. Your future is a story. Even the present is a story. There's that voice in your head right now, telling a story. That constant chatter that gives you commentary on the current scenario while at the same time desperately trying to reach into the past and look to the future. It's my belief that the hero's journey in particular has such a place in the human psyche because we are all meant to live the hero's journey. Or perhaps it would be more accurate to say live through the hero's journey. Though some try to avoid it with constant distraction, while others ignore it or create a life that insulates them from the invitation. We should all answer that call and live through the journey. I dare to say we can live two lives. We start out with the program we received as children. This comes from a variety of sources, and it shapes the way we see the world. It's the screen through which we view our lives and the lives of others. Then something happens. It wakes us up or triggers a great change. That is, if we're lucky enough to hear the call. Unfortunately, for many, that call is brought about through a great amount of suffering. We go through hell. I would add we go through a hell that we created. However, we won't see that until we get to the other side of the journey. After the 40 days in the desert or 7 days under the Bodhi tree, we emerge a changed person. Many will recognize the references. The story of Jesus is the hero's journey. The story of Buddha is the hero's journey. All central figures in various religions and philosophies experience the hero's journey. And they're all inviting you to experience the same. And when you do, you'll fully comprehend the saying that the world is not as it is, the world is as I am. In each episode, I'll talk with guests who've had their own journey. Some of these guests will be well known to the listener, others will be not so well known, but all of their stories are compelling and inspiring. My intention is that if someone's out there going through a difficult time, and they hear one of these stories and identify with it, the story will be a catalyst to change and transformation. To realize that if this person can persevere and triumph, so can I. They will discover that the obstacle is the path. It is the path to freedom. Freedom from the old you, the false self. And once that odyssey is complete, you can start living through the true self. However, to get there, we have to travel along that difficult path. I'm Rich Decker. Thanks again for listening. And please feel free to leave comments and suggestions. And share these stories with friends who could benefit from them. I look forward to the journey we will have together.